Hi everyone, and welcome to the Fake Love and Flying Monkeys podcast. My name's Nova Gibson and I am your host. My area of expertise is in supporting victims and survivors of narcissistic abuse and other toxic relationships. I'm the principal counsellor at Brighter Outlook Narcissistic Abuse Counselling Service, and I'm also the author of Fake Love, Understanding and Healing from Narcissistic Abuse. In this podcast, we're going to be talking about everything from the initial pink cloud you find yourself on at the start through to the horrific discard and the powerful trauma bond that keeps you hooked. So take your imaginary seat on the roller coaster that is narcissistic abuse, and don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode of Fake Love and Flying Monkeys. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fake Love and Flying Monkeys. As most of you will know, I regularly state on my posts on social media and in my podcast that narcissistic abuse, coercive control are non-gendered forms of domestic violence. And this abuse can happen to anyone. It doesn't matter what pronouns you choose to use. The strategies that the narcissist engages in to abuse their victim are universal. And today I have a male victim of narcissistic abuse with me to talk about what happened to him by someone that he, with all the research that he did and the ongoing consistent patterns of behavior over space and time and learning to trust his instincts again, he formed the conclusion that this person was most probably a narcissist. And he wanted to come on this podcast to support all victims of narcissistic abuse, but most importantly, men. Men are taught by society that it's a girly thing to talk about your emotions, and stereotypes mean that men don't come forward because they think they'll be ridiculed if they were to state that they were, psychologically abused by a woman that's half their size. So I'm really happy that Brent Baird is here today, and he's going to talk about his story and the impact of this toxic relationship on his life. Now, Brent is actually an actor and a filmmaker, and his first film, Seeking Oblivion, is currently on YouTube and DVD, and his second film, A Night with Nathan, will start its film festival run soon, and it touches on subjects of past abuse traumas from a male's perspective. So I'd like to welcome Brent. I'm so sorry, Brent. Thank you for joining us. Forgive my Aussie accent there. It's lovely to have you, Brent.
Oh, no problem. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure. Now, Brent, it's not easy for men to talk about their abuse for all those reasons that I just stated. Society looks at domestic violence, any form of domestic violence, as something that only a woman can be a victim of. And it's even harder, I would imagine, for a man to come forward when there's no physical abuse, but psychological abuse. And psychological abuse is still downplayed as a form of domestic violence. So what was that like for you when you were going through this and you felt like you were going crazy and that you couldn't define what was happening to you? Like, tell me your story, I guess, Brent.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that I'm like here on a podcast talking about this, because you never ever think that anything like this is gonna happen to you, even though it happens to a lot of people. Um, and just when it was happening to me, I started doing the research, and things just started to kind of come all together, and all the boxes started to check off, and it was a weird, like, it was a sad, depressing, but also kind of an empowering moment when you kind of figure out that, oh my God, I think this is what was happening. And so, yeah, I just basically started dating this woman, and everything was going amazing for like 3-4 months. And then all of a sudden, I started dealing with some anxiety issues, because in general, I have an anxiety disorder. And I just started having these anxiety issues within the relationship. And, and you would think your partner would be supportive of that, but ultimately she really wasn't. And she kind of was making it worse on me. And at the time, I didn't, in the moment, I didn't really see that so much. I was more or less just blaming myself. I was like, oh my God, my anxiety is ruining this relationship. It's me. I'm fucking this up. It's me. Me. And so I was desperately trying to do whatever I could to get past it, because I was like, I always wanted to save the relationship. And then she just really didn't have a lot of empathy. Looking back at it now, she didn't really have a lot of empathy for what I was going through. She just was kind of making it worse and worse. And then I kept fearing that, again, I was the one that was causing it. And I was like, she's gonna leave me. She's gonna leave me. And then ultimately, when I was at my lowest, I really went down, and I just finally went down like a insane anxiety spiral. I had an insane anxiety attack in front of her, and that was embarrassing. And then after that happened, it was like a couple weeks later. Ultimately, my anxiety was I felt like I was getting better, but then there were still days that when I was kind of getting better, she would trigger it again. And then so then ultimately one night we went out for like on a date and everything, and we came back to my place, and she was triggering my anxiety again. And then that was it. She kind of just discarded me, like basically when I was at a really, really bad low point. And then after that, I was just like, just hating myself, blaming myself for what happened. And I went on like a drinking binge for a while. It was, I was very in a bad place. Again, just like blaming myself over and over again for this. And then while this was going on, I still had her on like social media and stuff, and she was continuously still messaging me, and I was messaging her back, because again, as I learned what it is, it's called a trauma bond.
Yeah.
And I'd never been in a trauma bond before. I'd never really experienced what it was like. And again, I was still thinking it was all my fault. So every little bit of contact I had with her, and her reaching out to me, was like a shot of heroin, right, as they say, right, where you just get, you get a high from it. And, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And again, didn't realize that was going on either at that point. And so she kept messaging me, and it was like, it was weird. It didn't feel like the relationship had ended at all. Like we weren't like seeing each other all that much, but she was constantly reaching out to me like almost every other day, or there'd be like a week that would go by, and then she would reach out to me again. And then she started like semi-stalking me kind of at my work, showing up at my work. And at the time I didn't really think too much about it, but looking back now, I'm like, that was kind of weird. And then finally, like, we ended up getting back together after like a month and a half of her hoovering me. That's what I learned too. That's what this is. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what I wanted. I totally wanted to, because I wanted to redeem myself. I feel like I had to redeem myself in this relationship, right? And I'd gone to hypnotherapy, which really helped me. It was a form of therapy that I discovered, and it did help with my anxiety. So then we got back together, and then there was no anxiety in the relationship whatsoever. I was totally like fine. And we started dating again for like another 3 to 4 months. Everything was even better. Like everything was fine because I had no anxiety. Everything was great. And then after like about 4 months, it started again. Like it took a turn for the worse, and the abuse got even worse then.
Yeah.
Um,
So are you saying
and
that
it was
she would, sorry, Brent, so are you saying that she would, for all of those of you listening today, if you don't know what Hoover means,
yeah
Hoover, the term that Brent was just talking about, comes from the Hoover vacuum cleaner, meaning to suck you back in. So, Brent, are you saying that after she hoovered you back, things were great for a few months, and then what happened? Did she just revert straight back to that baseline behavior?
Yeah, it was like, and it was subtle this time around, a little more so. Like it would be like, it's weird because I totally felt the change. Like I remember I felt it in my core. Like when I was like, again, like I know people have listened to this know the abuse pattern, which is love bomb, devaluation,
Yeah.
then discard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I totally felt it in my core, like the moment that I I switched from, or when she took me out of the love bombing stage into the devaluation stage, I just felt it. Like it wasn't like anything she said or did. It was just something, a weird thing in my body and my mind, where I just felt like something was off in that moment. And then that was when it slowly, like, she started to pull away, started being cold and distant, like making excuses of why she couldn't see me, started hanging out with her friends a little more, hanging out with this other guy that I knew too. And I didn't really think too much about it because I knew him too. At first, I didn't think too much about it. And then that's when I learned that's what triangulation is too, when, they bring another person to the relationship for you to work harder for their affection, which I think is, I mean, all their manipulation tactics are horrible, but for that one just seems extra nasty, really, because you're like, it's like they're not even, they're manipulating you, but also somebody else at the same time. So there's like basically like two victims right there in one thing.
Yeah, and they've just treated you so horrifically, discarded you, just crushed you, and here they are with playing happy families, or like, it's just another Tuesday. It hasn't impacted on their life in a negative way at all. And for a normal person, that's soul destroying. We don't just move on like the last person never existed. In a normal, when we have a normal range of emotions, and we care about the feelings of others.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, one of the hardest things was like when I was starting to be devalued, it was like little things again. It'd be these little things where it'd be like, I would say, I love you, text her, I love you. She wouldn't really say it back. Wouldn't really say good night to me. Just ignore my text. These little things that were adding up. And then, like I said, and then going out with her friends without inviting me. And then finally, like, and she started kind of being passive aggressive with me, when I would try to like communicate with her, and she would just get kind of mean and cold and just kind of talk down to me. That's what she would start really talking down to me about things, like how I wouldn't understand certain things, and just and then finally, this happened for about a month and a half or so. This was going on. And I kind of was like, I was at this really confused state where I was like, okay, I'm trying to give you space, but be there for you. But then also try to not be needy, but also, again, show
so
that
she was asking you for space at that time?
No, nothing like that. But she just was telling me that she was going through all this stuff, but wouldn't tell me what it was.
You're trying to be respectful, give her some space, and it sounds like she's giving you all of these mixed messages. You're trying to do whatever you can to please her, and she keeps shifting the goalposts, which is just textbook, making you feel crazy, trying to get back the person you fell in love with, the person you thought existed, and trying to jump through all these hoops and never getting there.
Yeah, exactly. It was very, I've never experienced anything like that before. It was like, where it was like, where is this person that I fell in love with? Like, yeah, like months prior. And then finally, like I got to a point where I was like, okay, I got to say something. I can't like just sit here and take this anymore. So I just said to her basically like, I need you to treat me better. I mean, this starting to feel like a one-sided relationship. And then if you don't want this, that's totally fine too. I even gave her an out, and I sent that at a text the night before. And then the next morning, yeah, this is when they say the mask totally slips, right? That's when you finally see behind the mask of the narcissist. And I got a complete rage fit. Like she just got completely emotionally abusive, angry, just like blame shifting, like turning it around all on me, playing the victim. It was just really, really nasty and out of nowhere.
What was like? Let's just say it again. What you actually said in that message. You asked for some respect. That's what it sounded like to me. A simple request for some respect, and to be treated like a human being, for her to have some empathy for you. And what did you get back? It sounds like you got a whole heap of narcissistic rage, because you created a massive wound by criticizing her.
Yeah. And like I said, and then when I started doing the research, that's when I learned about the narcissistic rage. And I was like, oh my God, that is exactly what this was. Like when you call them on their bad behavior, or put up a boundary, or just basically want to like talk about your feelings, and they just completely rage on you for no reason.
Well, what you did, Brent, was that a narcissist reacts to criticism like you've just thrown acid in their face. That's the hairline trigger for criticism. So when you're saying to a narcissist, hey, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I need to be, treated with some respect. All they hear is, what? You're telling me that I'm treating you badly, and it's criticism. They don't, because there's no empathy, they don't look at how you're feeling. And of course, they can't reflect on their behavior. All they hear is, how dare you criticize me?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's basically what happened. And the other thing too is, after all of this, like this rage fit that she had on me, what made it even worse was the next day she made a point to post pictures online of her and the new supply out doing date things. And to me, that's just real evil, just pure evil. Like that's just somebody being like, I'm gonna try to hurt another person as much as I can because they're bad, that I myself.
It's evil, but once again, it's just another Tuesday. You and I would think that's seriously, that is so as you said, evil. But if you really look behind it, it's also childish, and which is where the narcissist's emotional intelligence is. It's with that, or the same as that of a 2-year-old having a tantrum. It's like, I'm going to get you. It's so childish. But when you've been systematically, psychologically just destroyed by this person over time, and then they leave you in that, marinating in your pain like that, and then they're putting happy snaps up the next day. It's textbook. It's excruciating for the victim that they can move on so quickly. Yep. And it's also very, very childish.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. And even in that moment, I still, just because again, I was traumatized about it. Even in that moment, I still was thinking like, oh, I can still make this work though. I can still make this work. And I didn't even call her out about that. Like I could have just been like, like, why are you out with this guy now? And you just were, are you dating him now?
Yeah, you'd learn it, Brent, over time, your instincts would have told you, because of all the conditioning, that it would do you no good. You say something, hey, we're just friends. Why are you so insecure? If you don't say anything, well, you're in pain without answers. It's a lose-lose situation.
Yes. No, it really isn't. Yeah. And then basically, like, we didn't talk for a couple of days, and then I still was trying to get together with her, but she was continuously making excuses. And then finally one day, she showed up at my house, and that was the final discard. But what was more confusing too was, like, when she showed up at my house, she just started like ugly crying in front of me, and I knew that was just another manipulation tactic. I mean, I know now that was just another manipulation tactic for her to draw sympathy and play the victim, because it worked. Because in the moment, I felt horrible, and I remember apologizing to her, even though I had nothing to apologize about, because I didn't do anything wrong. But somebody, you know, that I care about and love is breaking down and crying. I still, you know, felt horrible in that moment. And then she still had, but again, and she still had the balls in that moment, though, to like ask me if we could still be friends, and that's crazy to me still now. But again, that's what we would say, textbook narcissist, right? Where they don't want to lose it completely.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Friends is just code for, I don't want you going anywhere, because I want your supply when I'm bored with the next person. I don't want you to heal.
Yes, that's exactly it. And like I said, and then I went on and started this research, and I realized that, that's a big part of it, where once they're like, well, I don't want to play with you right now, but I'm going to go play with the new toy right now. But but when I come back, if I get bored over here and I have access to you still, if I want to come back and play with you again, you're going to be around. Because they collect people. That's what I like to think of it.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't have to go through the love bombing again. That's the beauty of keeping all their exes around under the guise of being friends. By the way, you cannot be friends with your abuser, a narcissist, because there's no loyalty, there's no trust, there's no genuineness. They were never your friend, but it saves them a lot of work keeping their exes around, because they don't have to go through that arduous love bombing stage again. They just have to push on a few buttons and reactivate that trauma bond.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, like I said, and I was kind of figuring this out the second time around, when I was in the devaluation stage. The second time around, I kind of started to do the research, and I kind of started to figure it out. And like, I remember going online, and I still screenshotted it. It was a screenshot of the exact outline of, like I said, the abuse pattern, the love bombing slash idolization stage, devaluation stage, and then finally a discard. And it was just like seeing it just right there laid out. I was like, oh my God, I think this is what's happening. And I knew, and like, I didn't know too much about this, but I kind of did know vaguely kind of the abuse pattern, where I kind of know the love bomb, devaluation, discard, but that was about it. I didn't really know what gaslighting was. I didn't really know what stonewalling was. I didn't really know what triangulation was. I didn't know what a Hoover was. I didn't know all that stuff till I started doing more of an in-depth kind of research for it. Yeah. And then again, even all that stuff started to just kind of be like, oh my God, this is what this is. This is what that was, you know, like, and
connecting those dots.
Exactly. And I've never had like an ex-girlfriend like just hang around as much as she did the first time around, like just would not leave me alone. And at the time I didn't think too much about it, but now it's just like, like, you know, I would never purposely go somewhere that I think I'm going to run into somebody that I just, you know, ended a relationship with. You know, it just doesn't seem right.
Especially in such a horrific way. I mean, it's called a discard for a reason. They make you feel so horrible about yourself, and you think, especially if they're putting, you know, happy snaps of the new soulmate everywhere hoping that you'll see them, that they would just sail off into the sunset and leave you alone. But no, they will show up in your life to make sure that you don't forget about them. And of course, as you said, to triangulate you with the new supply. And when the narcissist is up for a bit of drama, or they're just bored and the news source is getting really boring, they'll start singing your praises after they told them at the beginning how crazy you are. And that'll make that person try harder to please them. All the while, they're feeling like this wanted commodity that's got people, essentially fighting over them. Yeah. So how did it end for you, Brent? I guess emotionally, have you been able to remain no contact?
Yes. I'm still processing it. It's still been pretty recent. Basically I'm 4 months out of the final discard. So it's still, I'm still healing, but I mean, every day I feel like I'm getting better. I mean, there's good and bad days still, but I'm a lot better than what I was when it first happened. I have not had any contact with them, and I'm gonna keep doing that by not contacting them or talking with them at all.
Have you heard of any attempts by that person to get back inside your head in any way?
Yes. 2 weeks after the second discard, she showed up in my work. And I feel like that was just another attempt to kind of test the waters out a little bit. I mean, I was friendly enough. I just kind of said hi to her. We had a little bit of a friendly conversation, but then that was it. And then it's been radio silence since. But again, I think that's just because she's busy with a new supply right now. Yeah. So everything's probably good right now on that end.
Yeah. Okay. So Brent, I would love to know your thoughts around how you believe possibly that it was different for you as a man in society who has been the victim of this type of abuse compared to a woman, in so much as how you felt you could talk about it, be believed, be respected. Do you think that it was maybe harder for you to talk to people about the abuse because you're a man?
Yeah, I think so. And again, I think for a while I was denying the fact that this was abuse, and that's why I think part of it was I needed to talk about it to be validated that it was. And I still struggle with that right now a little bit too, where I still downplay the abuse, and I still think well, was it really abuse? Was it really that bad? And so that's really the main thing. And I think just as a man, it's nothing to be ashamed of, but I've never been through anything like this before. So, but I knew it was something that wasn't right, because the fact that I had to do research on it is not a good sign. I've never had to do research on any other relationship I've been in.
Big red flag. Sorry, Brent, go on.
So that was the main thing that's kind of the main thing I have to keep telling myself. I'm like, no, there was something wrong here. If I had to actually take the time to research any of this stuff, then there was something wrong here. Yeah.
And that feeling that you get later down the track when it's been a while since you've been in the crazy making is really normal for everyone who's been a victim. So for those of you who are listening to Brent's story, no matter how you identify, you will probably recognize in his story that you too get to that place where you think, was it as bad as it was? Was it abuse? Yeah, maybe I'm imagining things. Maybe it was me. And I just want you to know that this is 100% normal. It's irrational given the mountains of abuse, but because of that powerful trauma bond, this minimization of the abuse, you're rationalizing it away, perhaps taking on board responsibility yourself. There are ways that your brain is trying to get the drug back in your life, to get another dopamine fix of that which you became addicted to end the horrible withdrawal. So essentially, when you're going through that and you're asking yourself, was it that bad? You're minimizing the abuse. What you're going through is actually a craving. You're minimizing it so you can get another fix, as you said earlier, Brent. So you kind of had a double whammy in that you went through all the normal things that still are that victims go through, where you downplay the abuse. And this is why it's so important to get support, because it's not one huge bang, that happens in one go. This is complex, resulting in complex post-traumatic stress disorder most of the time, where it's the cumulative effect of all of these covert forms of abuse. And it's really easy for your brain to go down the path of going, was it abuse? Really? Was it that bad? So really important to get lots of support. But not only did you have all those normal things, Brent, but when you're a man, there is still this societal misconception, and I think it's reflected in the research, that only women, can be victims. Now, this is a form of domestic violence, narcissistic abuse, coercive control. There is absolutely no disputing that women are so much more likely to die in, or to be unalived, I should say, in an intimate relationship, and the statistics are horrific. But with this particular type of abuse, and that sometimes the physical abuse does go along with it, but with this type of abuse, it can happen to anyone. So for any men listening to this, please come forward and talk about it. You can comment on the discussion group, talk to Brent, because we need more men to talk about it. So,
Yes.
Brent, what have you been doing since the relationship ended, or you escaped, I like to say, in your healing journey? Like, what can you say to other victims and survivors of what you've been through, but most importantly, other men?
Oh, for sure. Just 1 second. It's getting kind of dark in here. I just wanted to put some light on here. It's so dark there. It's still kind of dark, but anyway. I would say that it's not, shouldn't be ashamed of what you went through. I know it's hard to feel that way. I mean, that's the hardest thing going through this is, again, like I said earlier, about blaming yourself for this. That's been the hardest thing, getting past all of this, is thinking that it's your fault, and it's not your fault. And I know it's going to take some time to get past that. But it's not. And the best thing is, like I said, that's helped me is is doing the research. And thing too is you're going to become obsessed with learning about this. And then you got to know that that's a normal thing that that happens to you when you've gone through this. Is like it happened to me. Like it's become an obsession. I mean, it's a healthy obsession. It's helped me with the healing process. But just understand that like you're not going crazy in the sense where you're like gonna, you're so obsessed with this that you're losing your mind, even though it feels like that way. It's actually a normal process to want to watch videos, want to read books, want to talk obsessively about it, because you're trying to understand what happened.
Yeah, I talk about these healing strategies a lot in my book, Fake Love, Understanding and Healing from Narcissistic Abuse. For those of you who haven't read it, please get a copy, because everything Brent's talking about today is in my book. And what Brent's talking about is the fact that, as I write about, you need to talk about this. This is you validating your trauma. It's like watching a movie over and over again, and just picking up some tiny little new detail when you watch that movie that you didn't pick up before. So talk about it as much as you want, but you've got to talk about it with the right people, because a lot of people won't get it, in your support groups with a narcissistic abuse therapist. But you've also got to be mindful that, yes, it can become a new addiction. Now, we don't want your life to be filled with another negative addiction. So that's what you have to, I guess, kind of monitor when it starts to have a negative impact on your life. And that's when you have to start trusting your instincts. Your instincts will be telling you, Brad, you need to back off a little bit with the videos and up your self-care. Listen to those instincts, because you will know when your need to absorb information and validate your trauma, which is so normal. You will know when that starts to become a little unhealthy, because your instincts will tell you. And that's when you go, okay, I'm going to back off my being in the narcissistic abuse recovery community just a bit. Just keep me grounded. That's it. And I'm going to up my self-care.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, totally. Yeah, when it becomes a problem. Yeah, or if it's like taking over your life a little too much when you're then absolutely.
Like anything can become unhealthy that we think is initially good for us. It's about exercise. We all know people can become addicted to it, and it can really be unhealthy, and they're not doing it for the right reasons. Now, everyone's got their own time limit, but let your instincts be the guide.
Exactly. And I know it's this the cliche thing to say, but it is 100% true. It's not your fault. And I mean, and that's the thing that this abuse does that I've learned firsthand, is it really makes you think that it was your fault. And maybe I could have done this differently. Maybe I could have been there more for them. Maybe if I did this little thing. That's really what happens in your brain after you've been discarded. And that's what they want. They want you to think it was all your fault. It's all part of the manipulation that they do, and the abuse that they do, because they want you ruminating and thinking about all this.
Yeah, the goal of narcissistic abuse is literally to make you feel crazy, and to give you breadcrumbs of the person that made you feel amazing in the beginning, so that, like a drug addict chasing that initial euphoric high, you will override all the terrible things that drug does to your life, and the thought, of getting that initial high again. And of course, in the end, you just need it to feel normal, as any drug addict will tell you. But your brain comes up with all these crazy rationalizations to get another hit.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, I remember when I was in the devaluation stage and she was slowly starting to pull away from me and giving me less and less like affection and attention and everything. And I remember, like I said, when she was out somewhere with some people and she was texting me little, like giving me a little affection and through little like texts of affection and stuff like that. And I hadn't gotten that for a while. And when I got that, oh my God, I was so incredibly happy. Like it was like, again, it was the shot of heroin that I needed in that moment.
Yeah. And it's, I know there'll be people out there listening to this today that will be going, I get it. That was me. Because you are in withdrawal from your drug when they're pulling away and they know when to do it. You're in withdrawal. You're panicking, thinking, when am I going to get my next hit? This is exactly the same principles as a drug addiction.
Yeah.
And then essentially your drug dealer just blows, a few grains or whatever you call it of the drug in your direction, and you crawl along on your hands and knees to inhale those crumbs, because they take the edge off the withdrawal pains. And those breadcrumbs, because they ease the pain of withdrawal, they feel like gold. So that's why, you explained that was something so minor, but you just thought it was Christmas. It was amazing. And that's because of this trauma bond and the addiction to this cycle.
Yeah, it was. Just looking back at it now, I'm like, I totally remember that night and how happy I was. It was crazy. It's crazy to think that now.
Yeah.
Literally less than the bare minimum. It was less than the bare minimum.
Yeah. It really, once you come out of the fog, the fear, obligation, and guilt, and you start to get some perspective. You look back and you realize that what you thought was gold, it was just crappy old coal at the bottom of the pit. It was nothing, but because you were, blinded by the addiction, they seem like diamonds to you. It felt good. Yeah. So, Brent, look, I just want to say thank you so much for appearing on the podcast today. It's not good that this happened to you, but it's really textbook, your story. I hear exactly the same pattern of behavior from the narcissist, from you, that I hear from everyone, whether that's someone in a gay relationship, someone who identifies as a woman. All the strategies they use are the same. So what you experience as a man, the general cycle of abuse is exactly the same. But I think for men, it's about society's interpretation of what a victim is, which is going to dictate whether men who are clearly going through exactly the same type of psychological abuse, whether they come forward, and of course, if they do, what kind of support are they going to get when the person who has tormented you like this is half your size, half your weight, and is deemed by society to only be capable of being a victim. It's really difficult, and I really hope that starts to change. So I'm so glad and grateful that you decided to tell your story today.
Thank you. And I mean, it's so true. I mean, there isn't a lot of support out there, I think, as much for men, and that's probably the reason why a lot of men don't want to talk about this. But I mean, it doesn't make you weak at all if you were abused by a woman. Like, it doesn't at all.
No. It's got nothing to do with weakness. So
No.
Please, everyone listening, this has nothing to do with weakness or lack of intelligence, and everything to do with the slow erosion away of your boundaries and your capacity to trust your instincts, which occurs under the level of awareness. I see psychiatrists, I talk to clinical psychologists, lawyers, doctors, who have all fallen victim, male and female, to this cycle of abuse. So, yeah, it is nothing to be ashamed of. And men, please talk about it. You are entitled to support, and you're entitled to be heard and understood.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks, Brent.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you having me.
And that brings us to the end of yet another Fake Love and Flying Monkeys episode. Yes, women can be narcissists too. We just don't hear about it as much as we do with female victims, because men find it so hard to talk about their emotions unless they're manly emotions like anger. And that's a societal thing, I think, and stereotypes. All of that contributes to men not feeling comfortable and coming forward to talk about emotional abuse, narcissistic abuse. I hope you found that episode insightful with my very special guest. Now, if you would like to have a one-on-one counseling session with me, no matter where you are in the world, all my sessions are online, please just see my website link in the description and send me an email, and I would love to be able to support you in your healing journey or to escape your narcissistic abuser. And on that note, it's bye from me for now. And also, don't forget to get your copy of my best-selling book, Fake Love, Understanding and Healing from Narcissistic Abuse. And if you'd like to support this channel, please just share, guys. That is the way you can support it and get it going in the algorithm. On that note, it's bye from me for now once again. Until tomorrow's episode, remember, you are worthy of love, and you are worthy of so much more than a lifetime of fake love and flying monkeys.